Hello and welcome back to our poetry class. We are going through the Torture Poets department, lyrics, a lyrical breakdown if you will, and we're having so much fun at it. We're now on to song 2 of the album. It is called the Torture Poets department. It is the titular song of the album. It's interesting. And I think this is where a lot of people got choked up when they first listened to it because they're like, is this serious? Is this not? Spoiler alert, it's not. It's poking fun at pretentiousness, especially the guy's pretentiousness. But yeah, before I go into it, there's going to be language in this song. Actually, for the rest of the album, there's going to be language. So let's jump into it, okay? This song is written by Taylor Swift and Jack Antonoff. It's very well done. We get into a sort of 80s synthy beat, getting into it, very much somber, melancholic 80s synth, but kind of upbeat a little bit. It's really fun. It really evokes the emotion that the lyrics are trying to tell. And if I could play the song, I would, but copyright. I digress. Anyways, let's get straight into the lyrics. We get into verse 1, okay? You left your typewriter at my apartment. Straight from the Tortured Poets department. I think some things I never say. Like, who uses typewriters anyway? But you're in self-sabotage mode, throwing spikes down on the road. But I've seen this episode and still loved the show. Who else decodes you? That's verse 1, okay? We get a glimpse into this relationship of someone who is self-sabotaging, who self-destructive, and the other one who thinks they can have a handle on it, thinks they can help them in some way. And that's a continual theme, yes, that we will get through, and there is a darker side of this relationship that is being touched on later in the album. What are we doing? What are we doing for this first verse? Well, I'll tell you. The speaker, the author, if you will, is poking fun at her partner's pretentiousness. Like, you have a typewriter, and at first I felt a little called out because not only do I have one typewriter for myself, I have two. I have two. One is from my Grams. It's an electric typewriter. It's fun, it's funky, it's fresh. Then I have a manual one. Okay, I got that from a garage sale. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Do you actually write in that like all the time? No, I do not. But sometimes I like the feeling of a typewriter, okay? Do I walk around with it? No, okay? But if this guy walks around with it, that's red flag. Red flag. But I like it because it makes me feel like I'm Jessica Fletcher in Cabot Cove, Maine, and I'm about to write a cozy murder mystery, and it's all in good fun. And am I gonna be biking around this quaint village? Absolutely, but only for a little bit of time, because bike riding really is a pain in the you know what. Should I say you know what? Yes, I should. It's a pain in the ass. Very much so. But I digress. I like typewriters for the aesthetic. I could decorate with them. Let's have fun with that. But if a man uses a typewriter, yes, I'm being very gender specific. If a man uses a typewriter, red flag. It's not good. But anyways, so she's poking fun at his pretentiousness, saying, you know, you got your typewriter straight from the Tortured Poets department, which is very like on the nose, tongue-in-cheek humor. She's not actually saying she's part of the Tortured Poets department, but she kind of like is poking fun at herself. Okay, the song is very tongue-in-cheek. Let's just go with that, okay? Then we go into the second half of the first verse. You know, he's self-destructive, but she loves it. You know, saying he's in self-sabotage mode, throwing spikes down on the road, and she still loves the show. And girly, that is just a red flag. You do not want a self-destructive man. You don't want that. But anyway, let's go into the first chorus, okay? The author goes in saying, and who's gonna hold you like me? And who's gonna know you if not me? I laughed in your face and said, you're not Dylan Thomas. I'm not Patti Smith. This ain't the Chelsea Hotel. We're modern idiots. And who's gonna hold you like me? And then ending the first chorus that transitions into the second verse is nobody, no fucking buddy, nobody. When I first heard this at like 2 a.m. after this had come out, my jaw was on the floor. I was in shock that she was basically putting him in his place and being like, you're not Dylan Thomas and I'm not Patti Smith, and name dropping the Chelsea Hotel. I was like, ooh, this was exactly written for me. I love this. Okay, so she's saying, you know, who's gonna hold you? You know, I'm the only one for you, whatever. And then she says, you're not Dylan Thomas and I'm not Patti Smith. Now, who is Dylan Thomas and who is Patti Smith? I'm so glad you asked. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Dylan Thomas was a Welsh poet. Unfortunately, he is dead. One of the most prolific poets of the early 20th century. You might know his most famous poem, Do Not Go Gentle in That Good Night, which was spoken in bits in Independence Day, and then in Interstellar, which is when Michael Caine, he kind of says it as they're lifting off into space. Very good poetry, very vivid, very visceral. I love it. Okay, fun fact, he inspired Bob Dylan, his name, like he inspired Bob Dylan to use the name Bob Dylan and adopted that name for his artistry, if you will. And then we get to Patti Smith. Now, Patti Smith, I love her so much. Oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to get on my soapbox for like 2 minutes for a second. Not 2 minutes, for like 2 seconds. Okay, so she has an autobiography called Just Kids, and it is her relationship with Robert Mapplethorpe, who is a photographer. He took a lot of photos in the 70s, a lot of sensual photographs, but he also took a picture of her album cover for Horses, because she's also a singer-songwriter. That book, Just Kids, I highly recommend. I'm not a huge autobiography type person. I'm not really into that whole nonfiction thing, but it was so good. Please read it. Please, please, please. It's so good. Okay. Anyways, so she's a singer-songwriter. She's a poet. She is an artist. She rose to popularity in the 70s. She's an absolute icon. She was like known by so many different artists in the 70s. One of her most famous songs is Because the Night. Horses is her most famous album. I believe she was like really good. She was really good friends with a lot of rock and rollers. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, she was asked to be in Jefferson Airplane? No, that can't be right. She was asked to be in some other, in a band in the 70s, but she declined. But she is well known in the industry. And so basically what the author is saying is, you're not some prolific poet artist like Dylan Thomas, and I'm not some special woman who like Patti Smith. Like, we're not special at all. We're not going to be some big name people. We're just modern idiots. But she name drops the Chelsea Hotel. Now, the Chelsea Hotel is in New York. You can still go there to this day. But like all things that were once bohemian, they have been gentrified, and it is now a really like deluxe luxury hotel. But back then, it was located in the Chelsea district of Manhattan, so near the Lower East Side. Actually, in the Lower East Side specifically. Many people lived there in its lifespan. Arthur Miller, Bob Dylan, Dylan Thomas, Patti Smith. There's just a bunch of people. I mean, the list is endless. But anyway, so she drops that, like saying like, we're not in some fancy schmancy hotel where we're living up with other bohemians, other artists who are just kicking it and like being inspired every day. We're not like that. We're just, like she said, modern idiots. And she goes into being like, she's basically being the realist of the relationship and saying like, hey, even though you're kind of an idiot and you have these delusions of grandeur and you have tantrums and all this, I still love you, which, girl, you gotta stand up for a second. Like, is it really worth it? Is it? Yeah, basically she's saying, hey, nobody else is gonna love you like me. Nobody else is gonna treat you the way that you want to be treated. Nobody's gonna understand you like me. That's just how it is, man. It's just how it is. The author then goes on to say, you smoked, then ate 7 bars of chocolate. We declared Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist. I scratch your head, you fall asleep, like a tattooed golden retriever. But you awaken with dread, pounding nails in your head. But I've read this one where you become undone. I choose a cyclone with you. This guy is like, he's high, he's eaten like a rat. They both declare that Charlie Puth, who is an artist, he has many songs on the chart. He's alright. He's not one of my favorite artists, but there's a few songs of his I'm okay with, But they're saying we declared Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist. Now, when you're high, you tend to be, not saying for everyone, but a lot of times you tend to be very like jokey and you try and make people laugh. You're more relaxed. So this could be said in jest. We're not sure, and I think it's really funny that the author has not come out yet about how this is supposed to be taken. I kind of love that. I mean, not that the artist would. She never really does come out and correct anything on her lyrics, because she's very much like, after I write this song or have this album, the songs go to you. There's a song, we'll get to it, don't worry. So in my opinion, I think it was spoken in jest because, you eat like a rat when you're high. You also say funny stuff when you're high. I just think it's said in jest. And then she goes on to say, I scratch your head, you fall asleep like a tattooed golden retriever. So saying like he's loyal like a dog, and he's tattooed. So we know he's tattooed. And then she goes on, but you awaken with dread, pounding nails in your head. But I've read this one where you come undone. I chose a cyclone with you. So he's sober now. He wakes up sober, and he is going through the horrible thing of being like hungover from being under the influence, and she's like, I know how to deal with this. I've chosen this path with you. I know how to help you. I know how to deal with you, all this stuff. So basically she's like, I got it covered. And what is he doing for you? Is he being nice to you? Let's talk about that, okay? Let's talk about what men are doing for women. Are they doing something? Who knows? Anyways, so we get on to the chorus, of course, and who's gonna hold you like me? Who's gonna hold you? Who's gonna hold you? And who's gonna know you like me? Who's gonna know you? I laughed in your face and said, you're not Dylan Thomas, I'm not Patti Smith. This ain't the Chelsea Hotel, we're modern idiots. And who's gonna hold you like me? Who's gonna hold you? Who's gonna hold you? So we went over about Patti Smith and Dylan Thomas and Chelsea Hotel. She's dropping it again. She's trying to bring him back down to earth, trying not to get him lost in delusions. And it's really like sounding like she's taking more control in the relationship than she should. This doesn't seem like a 50-50, or 100-100 type of relationship where they're both working at it. It seems like he's doing what he wants and she's like, whoa, hey, let's talk about it, We're not special. Like, sounds kind of off to me. Don't do this. We get into the transition to the bridge where she says, no fucking buddy. Who's gonna hold you? Who's gonna hold you? Nobody. Who's gonna hold you? Gonna know you? Gonna troll you? Nobody. So basically she's saying, I know all about you. I know how to make you laugh. I know how to soothe you, how to understand you, how to deal with you. Like, she's like, I know you like the back of my hand. Then we get into the bridge, a very damning piece of evidence that's being brought to our attention in this. Then she goes, sometimes I wonder if you're gonna screw this up with me, but you told Lucy you'd kill yourself if I ever leave, and I had said that to Jack about you, so I felt seen. Everyone we know understands why it's meant to be, 'cause we're crazy. So tell me, who else is gonna know me? At dinner you take my ring off my middle finger and put it on the one people put wedding rings on, and that's the closest I've come to my heart exploding. Run. Like, 100% run. So they're definitely in a toxic relationship because, first of all, she's bracing for a fallout. So apparently she kind of knows this guy's past, and we can surmise that from the past and from how long we've known each other, you might screw this up with me. But then she says, like, you told Lucy, who's a friend of theirs, you'd kill yourself if I ever leave. No, don't do that. If someone ever says that, like, they'll kill themselves if you ever leave a relationship, 5150 them, please, because that's psychotic. Don't be with someone like that. And then she said, I had said that to Jack, another friend of theirs, about you, so I felt seen. So she said the same thing. So it's like, okay, well, this is very toxic because you shouldn't do this. A relationship should not be something where if it goes wrong, you want to end your entire life. No. A relationship should be something that's healthy, first of all, and this is not healthy, okay? And she goes on to say, everyone we know understands why it's meant to be because we're crazy. Girl, I'm glad you know that you're crazy because that is super crazy, okay? And then she goes on to the next line, so tell me who else is gonna know me. So she's saying, like, for the past verses and choruses, she has gone on to say, who else is gonna know you? And she's kind of become dependent on him. So who else is gonna know me? Because she's become so involved with him and so dependent that she feels like she's begun to go crazy. So her words, because we're crazy. And then, this hurts me so bad. At dinner you take my ring off my middle finger and put it on the one people put wedding rings on, and that's the closest I've come to my heart exploding. He's toying with her emotions, and that's horrific. Okay, especially when we know, like, we will know, well, I know, but you will know, that in this album, this person who she's singing about, who we kind of connect to other songs with, he's a piece of trash. 100% piece of trash. And because this author has gone through so many things, her want is to, or what we can surmise, her want is to be married. Her want is to have this stable relationship, to be in love. That's horrible. Because we will get to a song where you're just like, he played with her emotions, and that's just nasty. That's nasty behavior. You should be jail, straight to jail for that kind of behavior. End of story. And then we get on to transition. Who's gonna hold you? Who? Me. Who's gonna know you? Who? Me. And you're not Dylan Thomas. I'm not Patti Smith. This ain't the Chelsea Hotel. We're two idiots. Who's gonna hold you? Now, this whole thing with, like, who's gonna know you? Me. It's such a horrible toxic relationship. Oh my gosh. It's horrific. But it's the transition of her being like, from the beginning, you know, I'll be the one to help you out, I'll be the one, and then her becoming so reliant on that it's become her entire life. It's just like, it's a mess. Okay, we get on to who's gonna hold you, and that's repeated multiple times. Gonna know you, gonna troll you. And then it ends with, you left your typewriter at my apartment, straight from the tortured poets department. Who else decodes you? So she's the only one who gives him a chance, and that is sad. But like, what did you do? Well, like, talking to the guy, what did you do to not let anybody else give you a chance, or that nobody wants to give you a chance? Like, let's talk about that for a second. What's going on? What's going on? Now I don't want to hear your side of the story. Never mind. Anyways, so that is the end of song 2. Let's get on to song 3, okay?